Joy Behar never saw it coming. One minute, she was delivering her usual sharp-witted commentary on The View, and the next, she was under fire, live, in front of millions. Sunny Hostin, a longtime colleague and outspoken advocate for racial justice, turned her focus inward, casting a shadow over Joy with a cryptic remark that sent shockwaves through the studio. In a moment thick with tension, Sunny implied that Joy's jokes and commentary had crossed a line that allegedly fueled Melania Trump's explosive $100 million lawsuit. The studio fell silent. Viewers at home leaned in. Joy's expression hardened as she processed what had just been said. The accusation wasn't direct, but it didn't need to be. The insinuation was clear, and it stung. How could years of witty banter and pointed jokes suddenly be twisted into ammunition for a legal battle with the former First Lady? Joy wasn't about to let it slide. She locked eyes with Sunny, her voice steady but razor sharp. "Are you seriously suggesting that my commentary is the reason we're dealing with this lawsuit?" The air in the room tightened. Sunny, visibly frustrated, hesitated, but then doubled down. "I'm saying some narratives were pushed, relentlessly." The word echoed. What began as a typical morning on The View had now spiraled into live television history. The audience could feel it. This wasn't just a debate. This was personal, and Joy Behar was ready to strike back. But what pushed Sunny Hostin to make such a bold accusation in the first place? Stay tuned, because the answer lies in a shocking family secret that turned Sunny from critic to target in the blink of an eye. Sunny Hostin had built her reputation on The View as a fearless advocate for social justice, never hesitating to call out racism, inequality, and historical injustices. Her voice was unwavering, her stance clear. There was no room for excusing the sins of the past. But everything changed when Sunny appeared on the PBS show Finding Your Roots. In a shocking twist, Sunny discovered that her third great-grandfather had been a slaveholder. The revelation was jarring, not only for Sunny, but for viewers who had followed her passionate condemnations of systemic racism. For a brief moment on screen, the shock in Sunny's eyes was undeniable. Yet, instead of confronting the discovery head-on, she dismissed it as an unfortunate fact of history, a product of its time. The response was immediate and unforgiving. Critics and supporters alike questioned how someone so vocal about historical accountability could gloss over her own family's dark past. Social media lit up with accusations of hypocrisy. People demanded to know why Sunny, who had long held others to high moral standards, was now avoiding accountability for her ancestors' actions. But the criticism wasn't just coming from opposing viewpoints. Even Sunny's loyal followers began to waver, disturbed by how casually she addressed such a significant discovery. Her once unshakable moral ground now seemed unstable. Yet this was only the beginning, because as the world questioned Sunny's integrity, another storm was brewing, a storm that would drag her co-host Joy Behar into the spotlight and ignite a confrontation unlike anything The View had seen before. And the next move? It wouldn't come from Sunny, it would come from Joy. The fallout from Sunny Hostin's shocking family revelation was swift and merciless. Social media erupted not with sympathy, but with outrage. How could Sunny, who had so often demanded accountability from public figures, so casually dismiss the fact that her own ancestor was a slaveholder? The backlash wasn't just from critics on the other side of the political spectrum, it came from her own supporters. People who had once admired her for her moral clarity now questioned her credibility. But the backlash didn't stop at online criticism. Fox News host Greg Gutfeld seized the moment, dedicating an entire segment to tearing apart Sunny's reaction. He accused her of hypocrisy, of holding others to standards she couldn't meet herself. Gutfeld didn't mince words. He painted Sunny as someone who preached morality, but faltered when it was her own family's sins under scrutiny. His segment ignited even more backlash, feeding into a growing narrative that Sunny wasn't as principled as she appeared. The internet, relentless and unforgiving, amplified this narrative. Viral posts flooded social media, calling out the double standard. Memes mocked her, threads dissected her comments, and hashtags trended questioning her integrity. It wasn't just a controversy, it was a full-scale character crisis. Sunny Hostin, the fierce advocate for justice, was now on the defensive, and yet this growing storm wasn't the most dangerous threat Sunny was facing. Behind the scenes, a much bigger problem was creeping closer, one that wouldn't just threaten her reputation, it could threaten The View itself. Because while Sunny was busy dodging criticism, Melania Trump was preparing a lawsuit that would drag everyone into the fire, and Sunny was about to make a mistake that would pull Joy Behar directly into the center of it. Then came the bombshell that no one saw coming. News broke that Melania Trump was filing a staggering $100 million lawsuit over what she claimed were damaging and defamatory statements. The specifics of the lawsuit were unclear, fire, but the timing was impossible to ignore. The media frenzy surrounding Sunny Hostin's family revelation was still fresh, and now Melania's legal action was dominating headlines. But this wasn't just another celebrity lawsuit, it was something far more dangerous for The View. Greg Gutfeld, already relentless in his criticism of Sunny, took it a step further. He skillfully connected the dots between Sunny's dismissive reaction to her family history and the lawsuit Melania had filed. Gutfeld painted a picture. While Melania was actively fighting to protect her reputation, Sunny was dodging accountability for her own family's dark past. The narrative was set, and it was devastating. Suddenly, The View wasn't just a talk show, it was at the center of a media storm involving allegations of hypocrisy, personal betrayal, and now a looming legal battle. Producers behind the scenes at ABC grew anxious. Rumors swirled that advertisers were getting cold feet, nervous that the show's controversies were spiraling out of control. And then, in a moment of thinly veiled frustration, Sunny made a critical error. She hinted on live television that Joy Behar's on-air jokes and commentary had fueled the narrative that led to Melania's lawsuit. She didn't say it outright, but the implication was clear. Joy's humor, Sunny suggested, had given people like Melania the ammunition they needed to strike back. It was a dangerous accusation, and if Sunny thought Joy would stay quiet, she was gravely mistaken, because Joy Behar was about to respond, and this time it wouldn't be with a joke. Joy Behar sat in stunned silence for a moment, her eyes locked on Sunny Hostin. The air in the studio was electric, the audience holding its breath. Sunny's subtle accusation that Joy's jokes had helped fuel Melania Trump's $100 million lawsuit wasn't something that could be brushed off. It wasn't a playful jab or a lighthearted remark, it was a direct hit, and Joy wasn't about to let it slide. Joy leaned in, her expression shifting from surprise to something sharper, more deliberate. Her voice, calm but cutting, broke the silence. "Are you suggesting that I'm responsible for Melania Trump's lawsuit?" she asked, the words hanging heavily in the air. The tension in the studio was palpable. Sunny hesitated, clearly realizing the gravity of what she had implied. But it was too late. The damage was done. Joy didn't wait for an answer. She unleashed a response that was as precise as it was devastating. She reminded Sunny on live television of all the times The View had given her a platform to speak out against racism and injustice. Joy pointed out the glaring contradiction. Sunny had never hesitated to hold others accountable for their actions. Yet now, when faced with her own family's dark history, she deflected blame. How can you hold everyone else's feet to the fire, but can't do the same for yourself? Joy's voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. The weight of her words hit like a hammer. She wasn't just defending herself. She was exposing the inconsistency in Sunny's stance. The audience was stunned. Cameras caught Sunny's eyes darting, searching for a way out, but Joy wasn't finished. She pressed on, demanding to know why she was being dragged into a lawsuit that had nothing to do with her, as if a joke could somehow spark a $100 million legal battle. Joy had drawn a line in the sand. This wasn't banter, this was war. But the question now was simple. Would Sunny fight back, or crumble under the pressure? Sunny Hostin sat frozen, visibly rattled by Joy Behar's piercing words. The studio, once filled with casual conversation and lighthearted banter, had transformed into a battlefield. Every eye in the audience was locked on Sunny, waiting for her response. But for the first time, the outspoken co-host seemed at a loss for words. Joy wasn't done. Her voice remained steady, but each word cut deeper. "You've spent years calling out people for refusing to acknowledge their role in systemic problems," she said. "But when it's your family's history, suddenly it's too uncomfortable to face? And now you're blaming me for a lawsuit that has nothing to do with me?" Sunny's face tightened. She opened her mouth, then closed it. The silence spoke louder than words. The cameras caught every flicker of emotion, confusion, frustration, embarrassment. Joy had cornered her, and the audience could feel it. Behind the scenes, panic rippled through the production crew. This wasn't a scripted disagreement. This was raw, unfiltered conflict unfolding in real time. Producers whispered frantically, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let the confrontation play out. But it was too gripping to interrupt. Joy leaned back slightly, her point made, but her eyes still locked on Sunny. It was a clear challenge. Defend yourself or own up to it. The live audience murmured, and social media exploded. Clips of the exchange were already making their rounds online. Hashtags began trending, some praising Joy for standing up to hypocrisy, others criticizing her for publicly humiliating Sunny. But one thing was certain, this feud was far from over, because while Joy had just delivered a devastating blow, Sunny now stood at a crossroads. Would she fight to reclaim her credibility, or would this confrontation spiral into something even worse? Sunny Hostin sat motionless, her silence heavier than any words she could have spoken. The damage was done. Joy Behar's biting critique had laid bare a contradiction Sunny couldn't easily explain. The air in the studio felt suffocating, the audience too stunned to react, but beyond the cameras, the fallout had already begun. Social media was ablaze. Clips of Joy's takedown circulated at lightning speed. Some viewers praised Joy for holding Sunny accountable, calling it a necessary confrontation. Others condemned her, accusing Joy of being too harsh, of turning a personal struggle into a public spectacle. Behind the scenes, ABC executives scrambled to contain the situation. Advertisers were rumored to be uneasy. Producers feared the show's dynamic was on the verge of collapse. What had once been spirited debate between co-hosts was now a very real, very public fracture. Days passed, but the tension didn't. On air, Joy and Sunny shared the stage, but the energy between them was cold, distant. The audience watched closely, dissecting every glance, every word. The question lingered. Could they move past this, or was this the beginning of the end for their on-screen relationship? Sunny, when asked about the incident in later interviews, remained guarded. She admitted that the genealogical discovery was difficult to process, but offered no apology for how she handled it, or for implicating Joy. Joy, on the other hand, made it clear in her own way.